Shockwaves felt here in San Diego over news that Roe v. Wade may be overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. Tonight, we hear from local and state leaders on both sides.
A judge hands down an eviction order in a property Escondido neighbors have been complaining about for the past 2 years.
Plus, sheriff's investigators need your help identifying these young men accused of vandalism.
2 council members have put forward their latest proposals on fighting homelessness. I'll have the city's latest efforts for conservatorship.
And you'll meet the magic horse and my special friend, Shauna.
CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now.
It's left people on both sides of the abortion debate reeling tonight. A leaked document showing a majority of U.S. Supreme Court justices could overturn Roe v. Wade. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. Politico published the draft opinion reversing the 1973 landmark decision. If that happens, the issue of abortion would return to the states. We'll have more on that in just a couple of minutes.
First, tonight, CBS 8's Heather Hope begins our team coverage downtown at the federal courthouse, where a rally started about an hour ago, Heather, and I understand it's been growing.
Yes, it grew, and it already took to the streets, so many have already been going downtown. You can see just the after effects, some of the remnants here with like signs, and many people who are out here chanting for women's rights for the last hour. Many have already gone in the middle of traffic, and there have been a lot of horns blowing, all just after this leaked dissent, many wanting to weigh in.
It's a very charged issue on both sides.
It is women's choice, so I am for women's choice.
Sounding off on a leaked U.S. Supreme Court draft opinion that shows the court could overturn Roe v. Wade. Local women's rights advocates say they're astonished.
Immediate shock and disappointment. Because I think, but at the same time, we were all waiting for this to happen. We knew it was coming.
Women's March San Diego founder Fran Carrillo says while she still thinks California women will be protected, she is worried about the ripple effect if abortions are banned in other states.
I think for women and young women, it's our biggest concern that health care and access to that health care, which they might need, is going to be very detrimental to their futures.
Skyline Church lead pastor Jeremy McGarity says a Roe v. Wade reversal would be a win for many Christians.
I think the positive, if they overturn Roe v. Wade, nationally, we're able to see it as, hey, we're no longer a country that encourages abortions.
McGarity says the issue of abortion is personal for his family.
My wife is here today as a result of a gang rape. That gives me a very practical, why we got to protect human life.
Legal analyst Dan Eaton says the leaked draft could expedite the Supreme Court's final decision.
But the fact is it's been leaked, and that may very well cause the court to speed up the release of the opinion.
Eaton says everyone shouldn't rush to judgment on the ruling just yet.
It could still change. The lineup of the court could still change. The bottom line could still change.
All calm down. Calm down until it comes out, and then see what each side can do.
Yes, and the rally is taken to the streets, so some will be making their way back here, and we'll have CBS 8's Richard Allen pick up that for our Tonight coverage. Meanwhile, we know that legislation locally and statewide has already begun to take form to come up with something if there is to be a Roe v. Wade reversal. Carlo, Marcella.
Thanks, Heather. Yes, in fact, tonight, state lawmakers are rushing to amend the state constitution to help women across the U.S. Our political reporter Morgan Reiner continues our coverage from Sacramento. Morgan.
The plan is to change the state's constitution to make it clear that women have a right to an abortion. It'll require a 2/3 vote by the legislature and then a 2/3 vote by the general public. And it's possible. A Public Policy Institute of California poll found that almost 80% of Californians do not want Roe v. Wade to be overturned.
Governor Gavin Newsom teamed up with top state lawmakers to change California's constitution to explicitly state a woman has the right to an abortion.
My goal is to get this on the ballot for November, working with the stakeholders and partners.
The draft released by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade would hand the power back down to the states. California already has protections in place. Planned Parenthood of California CEO Jody Hicks said if this leaked draft shows anything, it's that 50 years of legal precedent holds no water.
If we can put any layers of protection, not just for today, but for our future generations, then, I'm personally grateful that they're willing to do that. And, this is the first time that we're leaving to our children less rights than we had.
Leaders say they're preparing for an influx of women from across the country, as about half the states are projected to ban abortions once the decision is finalized. Dr. Daniel Grossman told me he's already seeing an increase.
They are choosing to travel to California, even though it's not the closest place where they could go to access care.
What's the cost of this? Women's Caucus Chair Cristina Garcia told me that's where a bill that's making its way through the legislature comes into play.
It's a way for us to have a public-private partnership, so we could be collecting private dollars to help fund the expenses of both traveling out of state, but also paying for the medical care, legal expenses that might be accrued in there as well.
Atkins adding they're not proposing using the state's surplus because of the generosity she knows will pour in. Republican Assembly member Kevin Kiley called the state's response to a draft irresponsible.
And is trying to sort of intervene and even perhaps intimidate the court with, very explosive language.
Kiley is running for Congress, and on the national level, President Joe Biden is asking Congress to pass protections for women across the country, something that Kiley told me he would not support if elected.
Thanks, Morgan. Meantime, President Biden tonight says sending the abortion issue back to the states would be a, quote, fundamental shift. Skylar Henry has that part of our story from the U.S. Supreme Court, where demonstrators gathered today.
Abortion saves lives!
Demonstrators stood outside of the U.S. Supreme Court for hours after Politico published a bombshell draft opinion from February that could reverse the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion. In it, Justice Samuel Alito wrote, "It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives."
It is certainly a decision that needs to be handed back to the states.
I think women should maintain the right to choose and have autonomy over their own body.
President Biden says if the draft opinion stands, it would be, quote, a radical decision.
If the rationale of the decision as released were to be sustained, a whole range of rights are in question.
Chief Justice John Roberts issued a statement calling the February released document authentic, but he adds it doesn't represent a final decision from the court. That is expected in late June or early July. It's unclear how Justice Roberts will decide, though it appears the High Court's other conservative justices are poised to side with Alito, or they could also change their minds.
If it goes in the direction that this leaked copy has indicated, it rocks my confidence in the court right now.
We know history is on our side, and we're determined to preserve these precious rights that are the bedrock of this great nation.
Congressional Democrats have vowed to take a vote on abortion rights legislation, and they say overturning Roe v. Wade could have major implications for the upcoming midterm elections. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
And tonight, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria says he will take action if Roe v. Wade is overturned. In a tweet last night, he said in part, quote, "If Roe v. Wade is overturned, we must do all we can to secure reproductive rights." We'll have much more with the mayor when he joins us live in our next half hour. The man accused of attacking a CHP officer on the 8th last week was in court for the first time this afternoon. Authorities say Yuhao Du crashed his car on the freeway, and when Officer Tony Pacheco went to help him, Du attacked without warning. They say he tried to grab Pacheco's gun and it went off, striking the officer in the leg. Du is set to be arraigned today, but his attorneys requested that he not enter a plea until next week. He's still in custody tonight with no bail set.
CBS 8 has been working for you to get answers about a property in Escondido where squatters have taken over. Neighbors have been complaining about it for years. CBS 8's David Gottfredson researched the property and attended a court hearing today where a judge agreed the people on the property can be evicted.
The Escondido property in the 2100 block of West El Norte Parkway has been owned by the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the past 8 months after it fell into foreclosure in September. About 12 people are living on the property, both inside the house and in several RVs parked on the land.
This is a foreclosure action.
Andrew Pomerantz, an attorney representing HUD, asked the San Diego judge to evict the people living there illegally.
My client is waiving all monetary amounts in this action. We only seek to recover possession of the premises.
Neighbors have been complaining about squatters on the property since 2019, when the previous owner passed away.
It's a beautiful neighborhood, and it was beautiful until these people kind of came in and took over. Now it's next to impossible to get them out.
Neighbors finally contacted CBS 8 asking for help. After a bit of research, I found these court records showing the stepdaughter of the deceased owner was still living in the house. Terry Bearer had filed a response in court saying tenants on the property were seeking pandemic rental assistance.
Plaintiffs awarded immediate possession of the property.
Even so, none of the residents showed up for the eviction court hearing.
The Secretary of HUD prevailed, and the court awarded us a judgment in our favor, a judgment for possession of the premises.
The HUD attorney told me it should take about a month for the sheriff's department to show up and evict people on the property. Then a few more months for the property to be sold.
I would think that it would probably, go to market and hopefully sell rather quickly. I mean, obviously there may be some repair work that needs to be done. It'll then have to go to a realtor to market it. And then, yes, probably in light of the hot market, the property should move and hopefully sell rather quickly.
Now, City of Escondido code enforcement officers have been to the property trying to get it cleaned up. I reached out to some of the people currently living on that property, but so far I have not heard back.
David, is this court case over now, or is there a possibility of an appeal?
The current residents could file an appeal to this decision, but not in Superior Court. They would have to file that appeal in the California Court of Appeals, and they only have 5 days to file an appeal.
We'll be on top of this and see what happens and whether or not those squatters will finally be out of that property. Thanks so much, David.